begins at the birth of our republic and continues on to this week's Democratic National Convention. And of course, a popular Hollywood movie along the way. With Mo Rocca, let's explore.
Everyone in Philadelphia and everyone who visits Philadelphia wants their picture with Rocky.
You couldn't ask for a more enthusiastic civic booster than Ed Rendell.
He was the mayor of this city and then the governor of the state.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Rendell brought us to one of Philadelphia's major tourist draws, the Rocky statue at the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
Wonderful.
Here goes a guy with no socks prancing up.
Do the steps help keep Philadelphians slim and trim?
No. Because it's mostly people from out of town who run the steps.
And from the top of those steps, you can look over George Washington's shoulder to where the country was born.
The revolution was a revolution of ideas. Those ideas were formulated and debated here.
Visitors swarmed the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall, where both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were signed.
Pennsylvania was the biggest delegation. You can see there are 7 of them.
And at the National Constitution Center, they get up close and personal with the Founding Fathers.
Ben Franklin is extremely popular. We used to have the famous Franklin glasses on, but the tourists kept touching the Franklin glasses so much, they broke the glasses. We tried, I think, 3 pair and finally gave up.
You just gave him LASIK.
But look, that's how often he gets touched compared to the other statue.
It seems that everywhere you turn in Philadelphia, history is just around the corner.
This is Elford's Alley. It's the oldest continually inhabited street in America, and it's just one of Philadelphia's many distinctions. This city also has the country's first hospital, its first library, its first stock exchange, and its first art museum. There are plenty of places we could go for a cheesesteak.
Oh yeah, and you can't, it's hard to get a bad cheesesteak in Philadelphia. I live in this neighborhood and this is my favorite.
History, not to mention geography, has not always been kind to Philadelphia, which was the nation's capital from 1790 until 1800. I chewed the fat with Governor Rendell, who was actually born in New York City.
You're a transplant, so what do you think you notice about Philadelphia that Philadelphians may not notice about themselves?
The city has a little bit of an inferiority complex. In colonial times, we were the most sophisticated, most important city in the country.
Right.
Well, now we're 100 miles south of the financial capital of the world and 150 miles north of the political capital of the world.
Right.
So it makes Philadelphians a little defensive and to sort of feel a little inferior.
So we associate all the Founding Fathers with Philadelphia, but
most of them aren't from Philadelphia.
Joe Queenan is an essayist and somewhat curmudgeonly native son.
there's the Philly that's the cradle of American democracy, and then there's the Philly that has what Ed Rendell called an inferiority complex.
I wouldn't so much call it as an inferiority complex as it has a chip on its shoulder.
About what?
The rest of the world.
The rest of the world has a long history of laughing at the city. W.C. Fields reputedly said, "I once spent a year in Philadelphia. I think it was on a Sunday."
Yes, I'd like to see Paris before I die. Philadelphia will do.
And then there are the long-suffering fans of the city's football team, the Eagles.
The last time the Eagles won the championship was right here in this field.
In 1960.
Yeah. 1960.
Okay.
Last year, Eagles fans were named by Sports Illustrated as the most hated in the NFL. After all, they're the ones who, on a truly legendary day at Franklin Field, launched a snowball attack against Santa Claus.
Governor, you were here that day in 1968. What happened?
The Santa that the Eagles had hired got sick, so they had to look for a substitute Santa, and they went in the stands and saw this guy in a Santa suit. They asked him to do it. He wasn't a great Santa. And then they put this poor substitute Santa out, and they pelted him. I think he got barely halfway around before he said no mas.
Joe, why do you think this story is so well known?
Because people like any story that trashes Philadelphia. And most people in Philadelphia would just say that Santa deserved it.
Clearly, Philadelphia has its standards.
The key to the cheesesteak is cheese whiz, because you want the cheese to get into the nooks and crannies of the steak.
Which brings us back to the cheesesteak and an epic misstep by John Kerry when he ran for president.
John Kerry came in and ordered a cheesesteak with Swiss cheese. Unheard of. He would have been better skipping the cheesesteak entirely.
There's a right way to eat it, too.
I should point out that you are eating a cheesesteak wearing a very nice suit.
It can be done, but you have to lean forward at all times. It's actually called a Philadelphia lean.
Is it like a slouch or is it from the hips?
You lean from the hips. You lean forward. Very important.
It's actually it's probably good for your digestion a little bit too, right?
I don't know about that.
Ed Rendell is not just an etiquette expert. As the chairman of the Democratic Convention's host committee, he's working to reclaim Philadelphia's glory.
I came up with the slogan, "Let's make history again," alluding to the fact that history was made. The first convention in the United States was the Continental Congress. And I was alluding to the fact that we would probably nominate first woman candidate to be president. Let's make history again.
And if it were Bernie, it would be the first Jewish president.
No, actually, I was thinking of the first socialist president.
Philadelphia is actually the Greek word for brotherly love, hence the traditional slogan, City of Brotherly Love. It was named in 1681 by its founder, William Penn, who still presides from atop City Hall. 335 years later, Philadelphia is still defining itself.
I saw a sign, and it was an advertisement for Philadelphia, and it said, "With love from Philadelphia." That is so un-Philadelphia. They used to have a campaign, Philadelphia, the city that loves you back. It's just not a lovable place. It's not a place that's warm. It's a place that, like, take it or leave it. And in fact, we would prefer that you leave it.
Fixture of the DNC, but now the Donkeys around town are leaving town a few weeks early.
The Philadelphia 2016 host committee for the Democratic National Convention made that announcement today. And the reason is the Donkeys are high maintenance. They require a lot of upkeep. Now that the DNC is over, the volunteers who took care of them are all gone. But now most of the Donkeys are going home to their respective states.
52 of the 57 delegations have signed up to take their donkeys home. The donkeys will be taken off the street on August 23rd.
They're made of fiberglass, and each one was hand-painted by a local artist. An app-based scavenger hunt encouraged people to find as many of the donkeys as possible for prizes.
Well, the Palm Restaurant in Center City is doing its best to preserve history amid a big renovation.
Our Victoria Whittle explains how some are claiming their face before the makeover.
The problem is the next one won't be nearly as good.
It was a day for reminiscing and plans of revitalizing for the Palm Restaurant. The iconic downtown hotspot has just announced they will be starting renovations, debuting a brand new design for a grand reopening in May of next year.
The Palm is part of a lot of families' history. It's part of the city's history. It's part of our political history. And it's great to know that it's going to be part of our future.
Former Governor Ed Rendell and many others who have dined at the Palm were part of a 90-year-old tradition, the caricatures on the walls.
You haven't changed a bit from your caricature.
Well, you know, it's amazing how people vied to get on this wall.
With 2,000 faces in their Philadelphia location of many philanthropic and famous Philadelphians, even those of our CBS 3 family, we wanted to know, would they be left on the cutting room floor of the new design?
Sometimes you shouldn't reinvent the wheel when it works. And every time we thought about maybe doing a restaurant without caricatures, the pushback was incredible.
So the faces will stay, but will be painted live for all to see in the new restaurant. A tradition that will keep diners smiling.
What are you looking forward to most about when it opens? When you stand back in the same spot and look around?
I want to watch the reaction of people when they come in, what they think of the restaurant.
What's the former governor looking forward to most?
This incredible salad, which is crab meat and shrimp chopped up in a sort of, it's not quite Russian dressing, but it's like Russian dressing. You can't find anything like it anywhere in the world.
I see you salivating a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm going to be looking for that salad because the old faces will be painted live on the new walls when the restaurant opens. The plan, or the Palm, is giving you a chance to claim your original face. So Yuki, that means you too. Right. You have until December 19th to claim your caricature by emailing your name, phone number, and a general location of where the face is located to phillyfaces@thepalm.com.
I came home in '86 and I finally made it over to the Palm, I think in like '89. I was eating, I looked up and went,
Oh,
Hold
hey,
up.
Sel, it's me.
I got to get over. They do a great job. Great tradition over there.
You were watching yourself eat.
Eating. I know.
Wow, something to think about.
Thanks, Tori.